ShopBlackcom. That's the website where I have all my tackle that you would find in my boat, all right? But everything on the website is not just a conglomeration of just random pieces of tackle that, okay, maybe a couple pieces of random pieces of tackle because they just look cool, but just about everything on that website. 99.98% of the stuff on the website is stuff that I've actually fished with, I've caught fish with it, I believe in, I've used it, and I'm just sharing with you my tackle box. So if you're curious of what I use, what I have in my boat, what I like to use in certain situations, this YouTube channel and the website kind of work together. I'm telling you what I fish with. I'm showing you what I fish with. You're actually seeing it on the videos, on the tournament vlogs, on the regular vlogs, or just wherever you see me fishing. You're seeing me actually use those baits, so I can't fudge on you with it. You see what I'm using, and you can go and actually purchase it at the website. Never even have to lose your house. So shopblack.com is where you're gonna find everything that you see on this channel and what I'm about to talk about today. So if you follow any of my tournaments, vlogs, any video, you know, like I'm super simple when it comes to fishing. I don't like to make fishing very complicated. I always tell people that I really only proficient at 3 or 4 things. I don't do videos on baits that I don't use. Like somebody may say, you've seen me do videos on, like, I'm not a jig fisherman, and I don't do how-to videos on a jig because I don't fish a jig, right? So I only do how-tos and tips on stuff that I actually use. Today we're here in Louisiana filming one of the Straight Up Fishing TV episodes. It's going to air on TV. Graduated up to TV, okay? We started at the bottom, now we're here. Is that cool or not? Started at the bottom, okay, but whatever. Filming the show, and I'm just using a bait that I've caught a lot of fish on in tournaments. Actually, this rig that I'm talking about here is where I won my first tournament on, first tour level tournament on, and like a lot of success on just a plain Jane Texas rig. But a Texas rig has many different languages that it speaks to bass in. So I'm just going to show you this one that I think is probably one of the best fall time. I've caught fish on this particular rig all times of the year. Spring, fall, summer, any time of the year, anywhere in the country. But specifically in the fall, I think it really shines because fall fishing, as everybody knows, especially if you live in the South, fall fishing is always the rear end of the good fishing. It's usually not that great. So it's a bait that you can get bit good with. Flipping it around, casting it, there's a lot of different things you can do with just a plain old Texas rig. I think the magic behind this particular Texas rig I'm talking about today is the plastic. I usually use very simple plastics with my flipping baits. In the springtime of the year, I'll use things with more pinches, more bulk, things that move more water. They're usually more aggressive. From where I live is going to be February until, let's say, May. Fish are typically very aggressive. They'll bite baits that have a lot of pinches, that move a lot of water, that are big and bulky. But anytime you're in the fall time of the year or the water is very cold, I have to kind of bring that in, reel it in a little bit, and use baits that are more streamlined, that don't move a lot of water. They're a little bit more subtle, a little bit, less assuming. Is that less assuming or not assuming? I'm not sure what the word I'm supposed to say there, but more simple baits. One of those baits that I like to use, that I use here in Louisiana, I did good on the Potomac River in Maryland, on the opposite end of the East Coast just 3 weeks ago, is the Bang Sticks. It's a Z-Man bait. The particular color that I was using today, I don't know, Cam, do we have sprayed grass on? We will have sprayed grass for you. Sprayed grass is the color that I was using today. It's a really unique color. I got it. It's become one of my favorites. My good buddy Rob Jordan is the one that turned me on to this color because I wouldn't normally throw this color. It's got basically a watermelon. It's a two-sided bait, or laminated. I guess it's not laminated. I don't know what you got. Two-tone bait. Watermelon on the bottom, and it has like a darker watermelon on top. I wouldn't say that's green pumpkin, but it's got that and then purple flakes. So it's watermelon and then a darker green on top with purple and green flake in it. I mean, whoo! I mean, look at it. It looks really good. The thing that I found interesting about it here, where we're fishing in Louisiana, is the water wasn't clear. To me, this is a nice clear water bait, clear water color. I think it would look best in visibility in probably 3 to 6 foot of water. But we were using it in water visibility 6 inches to a foot, and we caught fish on it, which was interesting to me because the darker side of this plastic, it did have some contrast in the water. I don't know what about it down here, but it did have some contrast. And that subtle contrast, I think, was the difference in getting a few bites, because it wasn't so bold as a black and blue, or so bold as a a June bug. It was one of those baits that you could finesse with the color, because they couldn't see it that well. I think that made them a little bit more apt to bite it. But the bang sticks is a 6 3/4. Is it 6 3/4? Actually, it's 5 3/4 inches long stick bait. If you're familiar with Zman Plastics, they have a hula stick. It's basically got the hula stick appendages on the bottom. That's all it is. You got a 5-inch stick bait with some real cute little sprinklies on the bottom. It's like a donut with sprinkles. That's basically what you got. I usually use a pretty light sinker on this guy. This is a 3/16 ounce tungsten sinker. I use tungsten because everybody uses tungsten now, and that's what's available. Some people say you get better, more, you can feel the bottom, it's more sensitive. I usually can feel the fish bite pretty good. I don't use it because of that. I use it because that's what's most available now. Do what you want to with that. You don't have to have tungsten. If you got lead, if you're able to throw the lead. If you got tungsten, it does have a smaller profile. It looks better. It's like the difference in having 16-inch wheels on your truck versus 22s. You'll still get there on the 16s, but you sure do look cooler on the 22s. You know what I'm saying? So you don't have to have tungsten. That's what I use, because that's what I can get tungsten. Then I got a 4/0 hook. I think this hook was pretty special. This is a spear point hook. It's got this funky, like, hook pocket gap thing in it. I'm gonna be honest with you, it looks kind of weird, but god dang, I was pegging him this week. When I was set the hook on one of them, he had it locked up. I had to get the pliers to get it off. So I was very impressed with my hookup ratio with the spear point this week. A 4/0 wide gap spear point hook with the sprayed grass. I was using straight braid. I guess can I spill the beans on why I was using straight braid? Is that okay? Did I get permission to do that? It's okay. I was using straight braid. I usually would use fluorocarbon, 15 to 20 pound test. I was using straight braid because I was in a kayak. The kayaks are fun, but kayaks cannot be fun because you have no leverage over what you're doing, your fish, your boat positioning. And being a tournament fisherman, I'm like very OCD over boat positioning. And you lose a lot of that leverage in a kayak. You set the hook, a lot of times when you set the hook, that tension on the line, you pull yourself to the fish or to the object that you just flipped. And, obviously I was flipping this guy around some wood structure. And so you lose a lot of that hook penetration. I went straight braid because it has no stretch. Even though fluorocarbon has less stretch than mono, it does have some stretch in it. But I was going straight braid because I wanted to bring his guy doggone butt to the boat. All right, I didn't want to leave any room for error of a fish running at me when I set the hook and I can't get a good hook in him. So that was the reason I used straight braid, and the water was muddy enough to where I felt pretty secure in knowing that I didn't worry about fish being line shy or seeing my faded braid in the water. Okay, so that's the setup. We went that far, and that's the setup. 3/16 ounce tungsten, 4/0 spear point hook, bang sticks, sprayed grass, 50 pound test, actually it was 30 pound test, braided line. I'm using a 7-foot rod. It's a 7-foot favorite Pro Series. I was going with a shorter rod again because of the kayak. A long rod in a kayak will worry you to death. You will be using intense language all day because your bait's going to be slapping the water. It's goofy. If I had a 6.5-foot rod with the same power and action, I probably would have used that. But I stuck with the 7-footer. It works good. If you're going straight braid, you need a rod that's got a little bit of, just a little bit of. You don't want a broomstick. That's not good with braid. I'll tell you why. Flip up to a tree, 15 foot away from you. You set the hook, all your force. You go to reel down on him. Whop! Hey, whoop whoop! You hit him. Whoop whoop! You don't want all of that. That's bad. Because what's going to happen when you go to set the hook with no stretch in any of this, you're going to jerk the fish toward you. You get slack in your line. A lot of times you're gonna lose fish. So if you're losing fish on the hook set, you hit him, whoop, whoop, pop, comes towards you, gets slack in the line, he shakes his head 2 times and he comes off. Probably soften up your rod tip so that it just kind of, when you set the hook, and it keeps the tension on the line. So I do want something with a little tip in it. 7 foot, shorter because it's in a kayak. I think that's all the equipment that you need to know about. Now we're gonna get to fishing it. When you're fishing this guy, it's so, I can make it complicated and hard to understand, but it's not. I put it in, I flip it at something that looks good, dude. I let it hit the bottom. A lot of times, throw the line back at it so that it sinks straight down by whatever you flipped it at. Click it over, wait 3 or 4 seconds, click it over, and I'll shake it once, shake it twice. I pull it out, and I flip to the next piece of wood. That's what I do. I could come up with you shake it lightly, shake it this. I don't have that to give to you. I think the biggest thing is most of your bites are going to come on entry when you're flipping and pitching. So you flip it up against the wood, you flip it against the rock, you flip it around the dock pilings. When it hits the water, a lot of times they're going to hit it on the fall, especially in stained water, because that's when he sees it. Usually when it's on the bottom, he doesn't see it. So you kind of have to play that you got to feel that out as you're tournament fishing, as you're out there fishing, as you're out there having fun. You got to play out how to work the bait. I don't like to give a lot of instruction on that because there's no wrong way. I've said many times that, the best way to work that bait is this, and then I get somebody in my boat and they're reeling it back to the boat and they start catching them. So experiment with it. Maybe you can catch them on it swimming it around. A lot of times you do get bit like that. You flip up near a tree, you go to reel it in, you're pulling it back, and one comes up and chases it. Maybe that's a sign that you need to kind of keep that bait high in the water column and bring it back to the boat. So experiment with that. What works best for me, I'll flip it out just like that, let it sink down, throw some line back at the bait. Make sure you got good slack line so the bait's falling right down in front of you. And you're just gonna shake it once, shake it twice, maybe 3 times if you're feeling a little lazy. Reel it up. The name of the game is covering a lot of water and hitting as many targets as you can, all right? Hitting as many targets as you can is the name of the game, because most of the time they're gonna hit it as soon as they hit the water, as soon as the bait hits the water, all right? So try that. The bang sticks, especially when fishing conditions are tough, lightweight tungsten, lightweight sinker. This is a finesse style of flipping. You don't typically think of flipping and pitching as a finesse tactic, but it can be, because I'm not going in with the biggest equipment that I can use and the biggest baits and the most aggressive baits that I can use. I'm going in with something a little more subtle and sneaking up on them. I'm dripping with finesse. That's what I'm doing. ShopBlackcom, you'll be able to find everything I just talked about. So you don't have to put in the comments, where can I buy this and that color. All right. Let's go fishing.